She was once a giant of the seas, a floating city of steel, carrying the might of the United States Navy across oceans. She launched aircraft, trained pilots, survived storms and wartime missions, and yet, today, she rests at the bottom of the Gulf of Mexico, silent, broken, abandoned. This is the true story of the USS Oriskany, a legendary aircraft carrier turned artificial reef, a ship whose glory faded, but whose legacy endures. Aircraft carriers are not just ships. They are symbols of national power, floating cities capable of projecting influence across the globe. Among them, the USS Oriskany stood out. Launched in the early 1950s, she was a symbol of post-World War II innovation, part of the Essex-class carriers, modified for jet aircraft. She served in multiple conflicts: Vietnam, Cold War patrols, training missions. She was nicknamed the Mighty O by her crew, and the nickname stuck. The Oriskany was not only a ship, she was a home, a workplace, a battleground. But she was also mortal. Even giants can fall. If you enjoy real military history and true naval stories, consider subscribing. These are not fictional tales. These are real ships and real people. The USS Oriskany was authorized in 1945. Construction began immediately after World War II at the Four River Shipyard in Quincy, Massachusetts. She was an Essex-class aircraft carrier, modified for jets under the SCV-27 modernization program. Length, over 888 feet. Displacement, 27,000 tons standard. Over 36,000 tons full load. She had 4 flight decks, capable of launching multiple aircraft simultaneously. Crew numbered over 3,000 sailors and officers. Her armament included anti-aircraft guns and later missiles. She was state-of-the-art. Her construction cost the United States government millions of dollars, and her purpose was strategic superiority. USS Oriskany was commissioned in October 1950. OR. Her first captain was John T. Ailes, a seasoned officer who understood the challenges of a new era. The ship began training exercises along the east coast of the United States. She underwent shakedown cruises to test systems and crew coordination. The Mighty O was designed for jets, and she proved it. Her angled flight deck allowed for safer takeoffs and landings. She became an essential part of the Navy's operational strategy. Not only a warship, but a training platform for pilots preparing for combat. The Oriskany was deployed to Vietnam multiple times. Her first combat deployment began in 1966. She launched hundreds of sorties, supporting ground troops, conducting airstrikes against enemy positions. Her crew faced not only enemy fire, but mechanical failures, storms, and operational challenges. The Oriskany also suffered a tragic fire in October 1966. A flash fire broke out in the living quarters. Over 40 sailors died. Many more were injured. This incident became one of the worst peacetime disasters aboard an aircraft carrier. It led to improvements in fire safety, crew training, and emergency response procedures despite tragedy. the Oriskany continued her mission, demonstrating resilience and the human spirit aboard steel and concrete. In the 1970s, the Navy upgraded the Oriskany under SCB 125. Modernization, angled flight deck, new arresting gear, better radar, updated living quarters. The upgrades allowed her to accommodate newer aircraft, including F-4 Phantoms and A-4 Skyhawks. She continued to participate in training exercises, joint operations, carrier air wing deployments. Her crew numbers sometimes exceeded 4,000. Living conditions were cramped, but morale remained high. The mighty O retained her legendary reputation. By the mid-1970s, the Oriskany was aging. Her hull had suffered decades of service. Steel fatigue was evident. Maintenance costs were rising. The Navy decided to decommission her in 1989. Her final crew departed. The mighty O was officially removed from active service. For decades, she had been a symbol of American naval power, a floating city, a mobile base, and now she was abandoned. The story of the USS Oriskany does not end with decommissioning. Her next chapter would take place beneath the waves. Subscribe if you want to follow real military ships beyond their service life, because the ocean has a way of rewriting history. In 1995, the Navy sold the Oriskany to the state of Florida. The plan was to create an artificial reef. Preparing a ship of her size for sinking was complex. Hazardous materials were removed. Fuel systems drained. Electrical systems deactivated. Decks were cut. Hatches reinforced. The Oriskany was carefully mapped for controlled sinking. The goal was to provide habitat for marine life, encourage recreational diving, and preserve history in a new form. On May 1st, 1999, the Oriskany was towed from Pensacola, Florida, out into the Gulf of Mexico. She settled on the sea floor at a depth of over 200 feet. The sinking was a controlled event, witnessed by hundreds of spectators, including former crew members and naval officials. The ship was now abandoned, but she would live again in a different way. The USS Oriskany quickly became home to marine life. Coral colonies, fish schools, sharks, sea turtles. She is now nicknamed the Great Carrier Reef. Divers describe her as massive, towering, an underwater city. Artifacts remain visible. Flight deck structures, elevators, aircraft remnants. The ship preserves history, but also supports ecology. For former crew members, the Oriskany still carries memories, training flights, air operations, daily life aboard steel decks. They recall camaraderie, the sound of aircraft, the smell of fuel and salt. Her story is documented in museums, naval archives, and oral histories. She is not a ghost ship. She is a monument. The USS Oriskany feels haunting, not because of spirits, but because of scale. A ship that once carried thousands now rests alone on the ocean floor. Storms and currents shape her. Marine life inhabits her. She decays slowly, yet she endures. Visitors see a ship that was once alive and feel the passage of time. The Oriskany represents the evolution of aircraft carriers, transition from piston to jet aircraft, modernization techniques, crew life in mid-20th century. She is a case study for naval architects, marine biologists, and historians. Her story teaches lessons about innovation, service, retirement, and adaptation. The USS Oriskany has inspired books, documentaries, and diving tourism. She is celebrated in Navy reunions, marine conservation circles, and adventure communities. Her resting place is a destination, a pilgrimage for history enthusiasts, a living monument beneath the waves. The USS Oriskany will never sail again. She will never launch planes. She will never host sailors on her decks. Yet, she lives beneath the Gulf, home to life, preserved as history and admired by generations. Some ships end with their last voyage. Others continue in new forms. Subscribe if you want to uncover the real stories of abandoned military ships and see how history continues beneath the ocean.